Now, the participation of women in politics and governance has seen a record of underrepresentation on both elective and appointive positions at federal and state levels.
Now, efforts have been made by NGOs, gender equality enthusiasts, as well as rights activists to increase the level of women participation in politics through the clamor for affirmative action. So what exactly is this affirmative action? Let me leave the explanation to Mike at this point. Tell us more about it.
I think I have to get to my wall so we can have a better understanding of what we are talking about now. Well, we're talking about affirmative action. You shouldn't be doing this. All right, let's get on with this now. Now, the affirmative action has to do with getting constitutional backing for women to be given a particular percentage of representation in federal and state cabinets. And this is in line with the Beijing Conference of 1995, which recommends 35% allocation for women in political positions, power and decision-making globally. And this is also enshrined in the National Gender Policy of 2006. Now, remember, the Beijing Conference became very popular when the late General Sani Abacha's wife traveled to Beijing, and then the Beijing Conference became a phenomenon and all of that. Let's get on. Now, the constitutional amendment process is on again, and a bill which sought to amend the Constitution to provide for 35% affirmative action for women was voted against by the Senate. It was, however, passed by the House of Representatives. So let's take a look at factors that hinder women from participating in politics. Now, know that in Nigeria we have a bicameral legislature, and we have the Senate and House of Reps. When one passes and the other doesn't pass, there has to be a point of harmonization. Now, these are some factors. High cost of vying for political positions. We remember in the 2015 elections, there were some political offices that buying a form run into millions of naira. And one would say, well, who can afford that? You need to belong to a certain class to be able to afford even buying forms for nomination forms for such offices. Now, we have the internal party politics. Sometimes the politics don't really favor women, especially when sometimes when decisions have to be taken are done in the night. Now, certainly in a very, very normal and common politics, sometimes they say that's when the spirits are alive. At 1 a.m., 2 a.m., certainly every man will want his wife to be home at that time. But we have these issues, internal politics within the political parties. And then we have the religious and cultural beliefs, where there is this notion that, well, women belong to a certain strata or level of, so they should wait for the man to say anything and then they follow. Well, you have all those. And then we have the patriarchy. Well, our system in Nigeria, particularly, or most countries in Africa, is a male-dominant system where the women are behind and you obey whatever your man tells you. So these are some factors that stand against women, especially in Nigeria, because we're narrowing it down. But let's move on now beyond some of these factors that militate against women. Now, of the 360 members of the House of Representatives, if we have to break it down we have about 345 men and 15 women in the House of Representatives. We're starting with that. And then if you come to the Senate has 109 senators in the upper chamber of the Nigerian legislature. We have 102 men and 7 women in the Senate. Now, if you put everything together, we have 400, and at the National Assembly, we have 469 members altogether. And if we have to do the aggregate, we have 447 men and just 22 women at the National Assembly. Let's move on. Now, at the Senate, the Southwest, if we have to break this down, we have 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, making up about five states, 6 states each, except for the southeast. Now, in the Southwest, they have 4 female senators in there from the Southwest, and then we have in the Southeast we have just 1 female senator, and then in the Northeast we have just 1 female senator. In the South we have 1 female senator, and then the Northwest and North Central, you don't have any senator representing, or the female senator representing those constituencies in those states at all. And one would ask, why that? But let's get along so we can have better understanding to some of these things we're talking about. Let's take, for instance, Rwanda, the country that has the largest share of women in the world participating in politics as an example. Now, there are 80 seats in the lower house in Rwanda, and 51 are female, while 29 are male. So that tells you a dominant house of representative in Rwanda. Now, in the upper chamber, in their Senate, there are 26 seats there, and there are 16 male members, and there are 10 male members of the upper chamber in Rwanda. That tells you some level of balance in there. Now, we have our guest that will be asking questions before I go ahead, but certainly, let's just round off with this. Yeah? Fine. Now, these are some of the countries in Africa that have very significant number of women. We have Senegal, we have South Africa, we have Namibia, we have Angola, we have Ethiopia, and we have Mozambique. So, I guess Nigeria has a lot to learn from this. Now, we have joining us on set now is Betty Abba. Good morning, nice to see you.
Yeah, good to be back again.
Well, Gender Advocate, it's good to have you join us right now.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
very much. Thank you.
Now, we also have joining us a lawyer, Hawa. She'll be joining us as we get along. Yeah, but Betty, let's start up with this. A lot of people have argued that actually handing over, calling women to say, come and take, is not possible and it's not feasible. Are the women really ready to take these leadership roles that we talk about? Apart from being ready in the mind, yes, I have the ability, but are they really going out there to take it?
I think that we're more than ready. And we're not just more than ready, we are capable, but we're being held back by the men folk, especially men that represent us, but in reality do not represent our interests in the National Assembly. I think that's one of the things that have held us back over the years. So I would say that women are ready. And people are much more sensitized, much more enlightened than you actually think. You talk to the woman on the street, you talk to the woman hawking or selling in the market, she knows her onions, she knows her place in the society. And but it's about the encumbrances, the political encumbrances.
So then you wonder why women somehow don't vie for political positions as expected. Do they, most usually, they rely on appointments?
I think that women go out to try to get into a political position, to participate in politics, but we are held back, like I said, by our men folk. And not just every man, I would not want to have a sweeping generalization, but people who are still very much held in the clutches of very retrogressive culture that see women as threats. And somehow they get into places where they should represent the entire populace, and all they stand for is their anti-woman stance, which has not augured well for us.
Yeah.
So the women are much more than ready, but we're being held back by the people fronting for dead cultures.
Okay, now, without necessarily pitching the society men versus women, we've seen instances where women even come out to vie or contest for an office, and we don't necessarily see the women mobilizing themselves for them. So how do we explain situations like that? We remember the Sarah Jibrin. That's a very, very that's a very visible example
she was the lone
in the 2011 election.
She was the lone voter. I think the fact is that men still play very, very powerful, have very, very powerful influence in politics, elective, appointive positions, and so men tend to overwhelm, tend to influence even the women within the political circles.
All right, then of course we get women sometimes. For example, the last presidential election, we had a female candidate. Yeah, we had a female candidate. But how many votes did she get? So many analysts would tell you, especially men, when they defend themselves, that it isn't about giving women opportunity, because nobody will hand opportunities to you. You have to fight for it. But when few women get the opportunity to even vie for positions, women, like he said, like Mike just said, don't tend to want to support her. They see her as someone that has somehow left the line women are used to towing in the country. So why do you think so? Is it about if I can't do it, why should you? Mentality.
Like I said earlier, it's about the men influence. And don't forget the part that money plays in Nigerian politics presently. And men are the money bags when you talk about politics in Nigeria. And so many people tend to be swayed by money. And so we've not really gotten, like I said, the women are ready, but we've not really gotten to the place where personalities really play a part. Money still play a very dominant role in our politics, and men are the money bag. So they tend to sway women. So in that light, we need more sensitization, we need more galvanizing, we need more mobilization. But to say that women that are vying for political position, women that have the capacity to lead are not there, I think that is not true. We're there.
All right.
It's just that there's so many factors.
When it comes to capacity, we know that there is capacity in everybody across the board. There is no, but even let's go a little beyond the issue of female leadership or political leadership. We have women have an association of journalists. They have association of lawyers.
They have many
now, there are issues, for instance, we've seen cases of rape against women sometimes. We expect that the women who are lawyers, who have an association of women lawyers, as the case may be, would naturally take those kind of issues up. But we don't necessarily see those frontal effort from the women necessarily.
No, but we've had. This Thursday in Lagos, we are having a major sit-out against the rape that's become so prevalent in Lagos. I think, to be fair, we've been very, very vocal. And most of the people campaigning against the prevalent rape situation we have are women. So I think the women are there. The fact that maybe their voices may not be as loud as they should be may be a factor, but women are speaking, and they are the ones at the front that are really leading the voices against these societal vices that target women. I think, to be fair, women have been talking.
And still looking at politics now, some political parties, when you get to the election season, some political parties sell their forms at exorbitant amount. But sometimes they give these forms free of charge to women. And of course, we know that some women are doing very well in business. So don't you think that's enough as somehow pegged women as, okay, let's just use them to fill up a space, because we know that they won't be able to have enough money to even influence delegates to vote for them? Do you think that is even good enough for women to be handed down opportunities?
I think it's part. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's part of the affirmative action for political parties to say, since we don't have so many women in these positions, let's step down, let's give them some kind of discount. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially considering the state of women participation in politics.
All right. Now, the point there are lots of people who have even said that we tend, from many of our analysis in the country, we tend to pitch the society against men against women, and that is not helping. In the spirit of gender equality, in the spirit of equality in everything, it should just be there, free. Everybody should fight and struggle for it.
I don't think it's pitching men against women or vice versa. It's just saying the plain truth. It's just calling a spade a spade. For instance, in the last few weeks, we've had the news all over the global space about Nigeria having the highest number of out-of-school children in the world. Not just the highest. 50% of out-of-school children in the world are in Nigeria, and predominantly girls. And so if there should be any time that our National Assembly will wake up to the reality that we need more women in the political space, in the space of political governance, it should be now. Because when more women are there, they have women-centered politics, they are able to help girls, they are able to help families, they are able to bring up laws that favor families. They are able to ensure that some of these negative trends reduce, because women are by nature compassionate and they feel they are the caregivers and all of that. Yeah, so for us to be having like a counter-productive or something that contrasts the present reality, I think is a scandal. So for us bringing it up and saying, no, this is not right, no, we have to have more women fill this political position. I don't think it's about pitching men and women. It's about ensuring that some of these wrongs we correct them, so that we do not continue to constitute a menace to the world. Because we are just a PR disaster to the world as far as I'm concerned. Right. Almost every single news coming out of this country is in the negative. And so our National Assembly occupy a historical space to correct some of this negative news. And so I think that if there's any time that there should be women-friendly, they should bring up policies that sort of correct some of this trend. I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
And of course, to attain the SDG targets, women empowerment is imperative at this time. Thank you very much for your analysis on the show. Betty Abba, you're a gender rights activist. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you.